Hello and welcome to the very first episode of The Heat Hub, a brand new weekly roundup show brought to you by the Miami Heat UK, the #1 Miami Heat content provider outside of the US. What? I can't say that legally. I'll throw in a disclaimer. Brought to you by the Miami Heat UK, the #1 Miami Heat content provider outside of the US.
Claim of #1 Miami Heat content provider outside the U.S. is purely opinion-based and does not stand up as fact in any legal circumstances, even though the opinion is absolutely 100% bang on the money and everyone knows it.
So, let's dive straight in and let you know what we've got lined up for you in today's debut episode. In segment 1, we will be talking about the NBA schedule release and what that means for your Miami Heat. I'll be joined by Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat. Segment 2, we'll be looking at the off-season ins and outs, and we'll be assessing whether after the acquisitions of Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless, whether the Heat have got better, worse or stayed the same. We'll be having contributions from this with LaLakersUK and Greg Sylvander from 5 on the Floor. In segment 3, we will be ranking the Eastern Conference 1 through 8. I'll be putting my predictions up and we will be comparing them to Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat, Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor, David Ramil from Locked On Heat and Miami Heat radio broadcaster Mike Inglis to see how we compare. In segment 4, we will be having a roster depth debate. I believe that the Miami Heat have the deepest roster in the UK. Jonathan Kiernan from Lakers UK and Matt Hardy from Nets UK will have something to say about that as they put their arguments forward for why they believe that their teams are the deepest. This will be judged by the hoop genius himself, Mooncey, as he judges who is the deepest team. And finally, in the last segment, we'll be looking at the fresh new Miami Heat vice versa jerseys, and we'll be doing a fun City Edition World Cup to see who has the best edition in the 2020-21 season, and who else better than the #1 jersey seller in the UK. Mark from the Throwback Store will be judging this. So let's get started. Segment 1 is about the NBA schedule release. Let's see what that means for the Heat. Joining me for this, Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat. Okay, so we are here on the first segment of the first show of the Heat Hub, and we have big news this week, and that is that the NBA has released its schedule. So it's time that we all get excited about NBA teams going on a calendar. And to go through that with me today is the host of the Miami Heat Beats podcast. It's Giancarlo Navas. G, how are you doing, sir?
I'm excited to be on. This is an honor to be on your YouTube page. I'm very excited. You know that you're my homie. I will do anything for you. So I'm very glad that I was invited on. I'm ready to talk Heat basketball.
Well, there we go. Yes, we appreciate the love, and I know that you have built up Miami Heat podcast from the ground to the success it is today. And I know that you've been in locker rooms, and I know that you've had NBA players on your podcast. But surely nothing compares to being the very first guest on the first segment of the first show of the Heat Hub. How you feeling, man?
Dan, it's an honor. Let me tell you, I'm putting this on the resume. I'm putting this on the CV. This means a lot. No, like legit, like you guys are doing amazing content. I think that a lot of local people are doing, like a lot of people that are covering the Heat are doing great content between you and Locked On and Vice City Hoops and 5 on the Floor and ourselves. And I mean, there's so many international pods like yourselves. And then there's the Heat Brazil podcast. Like it's great to see, like, back in the day, we were the only podcast out there. It was just us. It was Miami Heat was the only regularly uploading podcast, and some kind of uploaded and then stopped, and we kind of went through the whole thing. And then Locked On came into the picture, and then everything started growing from there. But like, it's nice that we have a lot of like really great peers that we respect and that are really kind, like yourself. So this is great. I'm like really happy for this influx of content.
Yeah, the rotation is strong for sure, and it's great to have you supporting us. I really, really do appreciate it.
Always.
So we have a schedule. Is it before we go any further? Is it schedule or is it schedule?
Well, I say schedule, but you guys say schedule, right? I mean, you guys you guys have invented the language. We appropriate. So I actually have. So my secretary at my day job, she's British, and I said, Jennifer, do you hate the way we speak English? She goes, what you guys speak is not English. She's just straight up said. She's from London. She's like, whatever you think is English, that's not English. Let me tell you.
Brilliant. Okay.
I love her. I love her.
So we have started the season. For what seems like about the 30th time in the last 33 years, we start the season against the Orlando Magic. Now, are you like me, G? Are you worried about this? Are we concerned? Should we be concerned about the Orlando Magic? Because they're a bogey team.
So I have this, like, we as Heat fans cannot be publicly scared of the Magic anymore. That has to go out the window. I think that's a Heat Twitter thing. We can't show weakness. We have to be strong. We need to stand firm. We can't be scared of the Magic. Now I know that, and listen, we have a lot of things to look forward to because, you know, I don't know if people know this, but Elfrid Payton is Goran Dragic's biological father, right? Because he's his daddy. He owns him every time they play, and he's not there anymore. So that's a good sign for the Heat. I joke when they were going to play they might play in the playoffs. I said, you know, Heat Magic would be cesarean section basketball because it's just disgusting to watch. It's brutal. It's painful. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be screaming everywhere. It's not for the faint of heart. It's just it's ugly basketball, and I hate watching it. But I mean, listen, it should be a win. I mean, it's just Orlando. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you, Terrence Ross.
This is it. Yeah, we shouldn't be scared of Evan Fournier anymore, even though he seems to
I'm a little scared of Evan Fournier. That's why I didn't say Evan Fournier. It's like, I don't know. Evan Fournier and Nick Vucevic, I'm a little scared of. But Markelle Fultz and Aaron Gordon. Oh, I actually forgot this. They got to beat Aaron Gordon for the culture.
Yes.
Remember the dunk contest last. I totally forgot. I mean, that feels like, man, DJJ winning the dunk contest feels like 2 years ago.
It does. It really does.
COVID
really
years have aged us.
Yes, it has. So yeah, exciting game to start with. And then on to Christmas Day, and we are playing the New Orleans Pelicans. That's an exciting game. I'm really, really happy we've got the Pels. I think that's going to be arguably the most intriguing team in the league this year. So I'm really pleased to be playing them. That is on at noon your time. That's on at 5 p.m. our time, which is great because I shall be probably a good 3/4 of a bottle of Jack Daniels on my way through Jack Daniels.
There you go. Very Christmas, Dan.
There you go. Yeah. So the in-game commentary threads that I provide every single game may be a bit loose on Christmas Day, so that's going to be one. But I mean, that's a great way to kick off the Christmas schedule, I think. How are you feeling about the Pels on Christmas Day?
It's a fun matchup. People need to stop complaining. Heat fans complain about everything. I feel like we are becoming very quickly the complainer fan base. I'm telling you right now, Heat fans, stop complaining about everything. It's not disrespectful because you have the noon game, and it's not disrespectful that you didn't get the Bucks. I go, grow up, okay? By the way, this is probably a win. So take your damn win on Christmas and enjoy. Nobody wants to spend Christmas losing and getting embarrassed. Listen, Heat fans don't really know what it's like to lose on Christmas. I got to be honest with you, it doesn't happen a lot. I think Dwayne Wade is still the record holder for most wins on Christmas or highest winning percentage on something like that. Something ridiculous. Dwayne has some sort of Christmas record, partly because the Heat never lose. I think one of the only times they lost was against Cleveland when Dwayne and LeBron kind of met up in that day. So like people need to line up. It's a fun matchup. Zion's probably going to be healthy. It's only the second game of the season. Should play. Listen, he looks good. They're fun. Last year they had a really fun matchup. Heat Pelicans when Zion played later in the season. You know, lighten up. We're back on Christmas. Come on, we belong. Listen, let me belong on Christmas. Let's just be happy that we're there. We have listen. I love the noon slot. I'm there. I'm waking up a little hungover. I'm having snacks. I'm having cookies. I'm eating leftovers. Listen, I'm in on the noon spot.
There you go. Yes, brilliantly summed up. So yeah, I'm happy that we're playing Pels, and that's going to be a great start to the schedule for us over here too. So we start off the season then. Orlando Magic, Pels, Bucks again. Mavs, and then Thunder. That's our opening 6. 4 of those at the the AAA, and then 2 on the road. That's quite on paper. That's quite a tough start, I think. Followed quickly by a doubleheader as well against the Celtics, I think, in there, and the Sixers are in there. Quite a tough start. What do you think?
It's tough. I mean, you know, so I was looking at some numbers and everything. Like, you know, the schedules look kind of like wonky. You know, of course, we're truncated season. You know, but I think that the league did a really good job of reducing travel for everybody, right? And the Heat are traveling 47% less through their first 37 games than they would have otherwise. I think it's like they traveled like 800 something miles before, and then this season they're traveling 400 miles, right? Like they're doing a great job of kind of minimizing the travel, kind of with this baseball kind of like schedule where you're playing like these back-to-backs against, you know, the same teams in one city, right? I think that's really helpful for a team like Miami. It's a little older. They're gonna kind of rest. They did play late into the season last year. You know, Goran's coming off that injury. You know, Jimmy coming off, you know, just freaking exhausting finals performance, right? So it's tough for them. I think that, looking at the schedule as a whole, they only have 5 back-to-backs. There's something called true rest disadvantage games in which, if the Heat are on a back-to-back and the other team's on a back-to-back, it's not really a rest disadvantage game, right? So like they only have 3 of those in the schedule. So it's not as bad as, you could look at it and you can initially say, oh, this sucks or whatever. No, it's not too bad, right? I think they got off pretty easy in that sense. And it's a tough schedule on paper, but they're a good team. So I mean, at the end of the day, they're gonna have to play these teams eventually.
This is it, absolutely. And the only other sort of noticeables at the moment, we've got a pretty brutal trip out west, mid-February going into late February, which that looks like Rockets, then Jazz, Clippers, Warriors, Kings, Lakers, and Thunder. So that's pretty brutal. 21st of February is the game against the Lakers, which obviously sees a rematch of this last season's finals. So that's going to be quite taxing, that trip.
That is see, but the thing with that is also like the Lakers game is one of the 3 disadvantage games because they're on a back-to-back, and that's like 5 games in 7 nights or something like that. For them, that's just gonna be tough. And I said this on my podcast. At least so far they don't have that godforsaken freaking 6-game road trip ended by the back-to-back at Denver, right? The impossible game to win. I think somebody said that the Nuggets win that game like 70-something% of the time, even if the team's not good. Like the win percentage is ridiculous because they always get teams like coming back. So like, it sucks. It is what it is. At the end of the day, travel's reduced greatly. And that's one, and all those teams are good. Right? The Warriors are going to be good. The Lakers, the Clippers, all that stuff. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is, but they're gonna, like I said before, I think, Dan, a lot of times, and I did the same thing on my show, like we go through the schedule, and I think this season is going to be so different because of COVID, right? So that 7-game road trip, maybe there's some weird stuff that happens, and let the Warriors sit Curry, right? Or not even because of COVID, just because it's so truncated that, okay, let's get these guys some rest. Let's buy them a day or whatever. The Heat are going to have a target on their back. They're defending conference champs, but a lot of teams apparently aren't taking them seriously, according to some reports. That think it's fluky. So, I'm sure the Heat are going to play with a chip on their shoulder and stuff like that too. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
This is it. Yeah, who knows what can happen? That's a long, long way away. So let's just get some predictions before I let you go. Opening 6 games, as I said, Orlando Magic, New Orleans, Bucks, Mavs, Thunder. That's our opening 6. What do we think going through that? What are we going to be happy with?
I think if you're 4-2, you're thrilled. I think, the Heat are probably going to rest some people early in the season. Jimmy, Goran, those kind of guys that, kind of want to buy some rest. I don't see Bam resting a lot. Right. And like, they're deep. They have 4 guards that can play. Right. So like, even like looking at the guard situation, for every game that Goran doesn't play, you're going to have Avery Bradley and Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero. Right. You're going to have a lot of guys that can fill guard minutes. And, if Jimmy doesn't play, I think that's the one that hurts you the most. But I mean, they're going to have enough bodies to be able to fill those holes, if guys take rest. So I think 4-2, you're thrilled. If you split those Buck games, right? So if you take one, you're looking good, it's hard to like look at individual games, but Mavs aren't going to have Porzingis to start the season. So I think 4-2 is fine. If you're 3-3, Heat fans, calm down. It's not the end of the world. If you're 500 to start the season, it happens. We've been through this. Heat team started 9-8 and then made the finals. So just don't worry. Chill out. They're good.
Yes.
They're good. Guys, they're good. Heat fans, the team is good. Just relax.
This is it. Eastern Conference final champions. We went to the finals. This team, we've got to relax. Well, even if we start off slow, this team is going nowhere. So I think that'll be the target. I think you're right. 4-2, we should be very happy with that. So brilliant. That was the opening segment. Done and dusted with Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat podcast. Great to talk to you. We aren't done with G. He is coming back with the next segment. He has given me his 1 to 8 through the East rankings. That is going to be later on in this show. We'll see what G comes up with from there. And yeah, that's it. That's it for the opening segment. Great to have you on, and take care of yourself, my man.
Anytime, man. Thank you so much. Follow us at MIA Heatbeat for our Twitter updates. We have a lot planned for the season. And Dan, I'm excited to work with you this season. I'm glad that you're in on this, and we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Absolutely are. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Speak to you soon.
Take care.
On to segment 2 as we look into Miami's free agency off-season business both in and out, and then we evaluate whether the Heat have got better, worse or stayed the same. Contributions from this segment from LaLakersUK and Greg Sylvander from 5 on the Floor. Putting aside Miami's 20th pick in Precious Achiuwa, there were two main ins and outs this year in Miami's free agency business. Going out was Derrick Jones Jr. to the Portland Trailblazers and Jay Crowder left for the Phoenix Suns. Coming in was 10-year vet, 30-year-old Bradley Avery from the LA Lakers, and Mo Harkless joined, who spent last season mainly with the LA Clippers and a bit of time in the New York Knicks. In this segment, we're going to have a look at how both those players can help slip into the Heat culture and give us some help next year. And then we'll finish the segment by seeing how, after those trades, whether the Heat have got better, worse, or stayed the same. Check it out. So let's take a closer look at who the Heat have acquired in this year's free agency. Starting with Avery Bradley, a 30-year-old guard. He can play at shooting guard or point guard. He was the 19th pick of the 2010 draft, and he will be picking up $5.6 million in this year's contract, and there's a team option for next year where he could earn $5.9. Career stats: he has played 571 games, averaging 11.8 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists per game. He averages 1 steal a game, and from three-point land he hits 36.4 through his career. Last year he was with the LA Lakers. He missed the bubble due to COVID concerns, but he still racked up 49 appearances for the Lakers, averaging 8.6 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, 1.3 assists. Averages that still again and again, shooting bang on his 3-point career average at 36.4%. So although Bradley's career stats don't jump off the page, he is renowned for his hustle and his point of guard defense, and at 6'2", he can guard 1 to 4 very, very well. With a 43.6% field goal percentage, he will also contribute nicely to Miami's attacking arsenal. Last year he was with the champions, the LA Lakers, so I asked Matt Evans, founder of LA Lakers UK, to see what the Heat can expect.
Hey everyone, Matt from Lakers UK here. So Avery Bradley is a fantastic signing for the Miami Heat. Very sad to see him leave the Lakers. He has the ability to shoot from 3, very efficient from 2 as well in the mid-range and in his drives to the basket. Even when he's not shooting relatively well, he is very locked in on defense pretty much on a nightly basis. And when he really is locked in, he is probably one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. Probably definitely the most aggressive alongside Patrick Beverley. So he really is a dog out there and really provides the energy that surges a team to a win. Really important to the momentum, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think on a nightly basis, don't expect him to light up too much. He'll probably give you about 8 to 10 points a night. Every now and then he may light up. He had 21 points against the Golden State Warriors for the Lakers last season, 24 points against the Clippers. So he definitely does show that he's capable. But to round up, Avery Bradley is the epitome of a 3-and-D player. Very sad to see him leave the Lakers, but great that his career is back on track after a few injuries in the past, and I wish him the best of luck in Miami. You've certainly got a great player there.
So now on to Mo Harkless. The Heat have acquired the 27-year-old forward. He can play at power forward or small forward. He was the 15th pick in the 2012 draft, and he will pick up $3.6 million in a 1-year deal with Miami. Over his career, he has played 537 games, averaging 7.2 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, just under an assist a game, 1.0 steals, and from three-point land, he is shooting 32.5%. Last year, he spent most of his time with the Clippers, but 12 games also with the New York Knicks. Over the course of the 2019-2020 season, he played 62 games, averaging 5.8 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 1.1 assist, and 0.9 steals per game. He shot a little above his career average from 3 at 34.7. Coach Eric Spoelstra is clearly happy with his new signing, and he sat down with the media for the first day of training camp to discuss what he expects from Mo this season. This is what Spo said. He's a really good shooter. Just in the couple of weeks he's been in town, his shooting numbers have been great. It's just a matter of finding a role that fits. We value things he's done in the course of his career as a two-way player, a 3-and-D guy. We want him to shoot those shots with confidence. He's very confident with that. He's shown that potential, he has been in the right role a couple of times in his career. Now it's about showing relentless consistency and pushing to a higher level he's ever been before. So with those additions of Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless, and going out the door Derek Jones Jr., Jay Crowder and of course Solomon Hill, the question asked now is, have the Heat got better, worse or stayed the same? I was on a podcast a week or so ago with Greg Sylvander from 5 on the Floor, and I put that very question to him. Check it out.
I'm with you. I think that they have stayed the same. I think that initially, in full transparency, I really wanted to keep Jay Crowder.
Same.
I loved his fit. The Heat have been trying to acquire Jay Crowder for years. In fact, last year at the trade deadline, they came very close to a deal with Utah that would have sent Jay Crowder and Ricky Rubio to Miami, and it fell through at the last minute. But it got to the 10-yard line, we'll say, in American football speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
And didn't materialize, but they've tried to get Jay Crowder several times, and I think that they, in a perfect world, they would have wanted to keep him. So sad to see him go. But here's the thing, back to the player development and maximizing players, and also the fact that this is really a Spoelstra-led group now. I think that Mo Harkless is going to be able to do a lot of the same things defensively, maybe in some different ways, using length more than strength, but he will be able to do some of that. We've seen this organization and the shooting players have came in and shot historically good seasons, whether it's Wayne Ellington coming in or whether it's Jay Crowder in the run that he just made. So I think Mo Harkless can make strides that way. And then I love the Avery Bradley pickup. I think that it was a perfect, he doesn't do everything great, but the one thing he does great, man, Miami needs it. And that's the point of attack defense, guarding really quick players. It allows you to keep a player like Myers Leonard on the floor more often. Because you have a guy who can keep quick point guards in front of them, so it doesn't require Myers being the rim protector that maybe he's not. So I like that move, and I think that ultimately it is pretty much they are coming back with the same type of team. So I would say that it was a neutral offseason, but when you look around the East, everyone had neutral or worse off seasons, maybe aside from Brooklyn, who's welcoming Kyrie and Kevin Durant back into the fold.
It's segment 3, and we will be taking on the daunting task of trying to predict the seedings 1 through 8 in the Eastern Conference. To help me do this, I'm going to compare my predictions with that of Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor, Mike Inglis from the Miami Heat radio broadcast, Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat, and David Ramil from Locked On Heat. So this is going to be a very tricky exercise. I think that the Eastern Conference is undoubtedly stronger this year. 1 to 6 especially, there's not much that you can put between these 6 teams, so it's going to be interesting to see how we compare and how we match up. And even the bottom end of the playoffs now, who would think that the Wizards could have a shout? The Atlanta Hawks, are they in with a shout? The Pacers, how are they going to fare? Anybody else that could gate crash the playoffs? Well, we will see in this next segment. So I will start off with my 1 to 8, and then I'll ask my 4 guests to see how they've come up against my predictions and how we compare. So let's get started. So starting off with my predictions and the 8th spot. This was tough. I changed my opinion on this about 3 or 4 times, and eventually I have settled on the Atlanta Hawks in 8th position. I just believe that they've got some real depth now. Obviously Trae Young is their superstar. We're going to see another leap, I believe, from him this season. But some great additions in Bogdanovic, Rondo, Gallinari, etc. I think this is enough to give them a real solid team now. I think that 8th place is very realistic. I think that would be the minimum that they'll look to achieve. I think they will believe that they could finish even higher than that. But the Hawks are going to be dangerous. They're going to be a fun team to watch. So they get my 8th spot. In at 7, and again I ummed and ahed over this. I did consider not having this team in at all. But in the end I've decided to stick with it, and my 7th seed I believe will be the Indiana Pacers. I just feel like there was a case to not have these in, but this was a 4th seed last year. Oladipo and Sabonis especially had their health concerns. If they can put that behind them, I just think you can't not have this team in the playoffs if it includes a fully healthy Victor Oladipo, Sabonis, Miles Turner, TJ Warren, Malcolm Brogdon. I think that's a solid enough team. I don't think they'll do a lot, a bit like this season once the playoffs did actually start. They were swept by, obviously, the Miami Heat. I don't think there'll be anything more than a first round exit, but even though I did debate not including them at all, I think that they are good enough for a 7th seed. Right, so now it gets tricky because this 6 that are left could really go in any order. It's that open. Again, it seems weird because I think they've had a great off-season, but I'm putting in at number 6 the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, I feel like if they get James Harden, then that changes completely. It probably means that they win the division. But they've done brilliantly, I think, this offseason, getting rid of Al Horford, getting off of that contract, bringing in shooting that they desperately needed with Danny Green and Seth Curry. It's an A+ offseason, I feel. But I just think that at the moment, I'm going to say that they're in at 6, only because they may take a bit of time to gel, etc. Who knows? This could really go anyway. That they could be as high as 2nd or 3rd. I'm just going to put them in at 6, but I think that Philadelphia fans will be very happy with their off-season. Number 5 seed may raise a couple of eyebrows because I think a lot of people may have put them higher than this, but in at 5 I'm going to put Brooklyn. I just feel like the team obviously heavily relying on their 2 absolute superstars in KD and Kyrie, but I'm not sure how much we're going to see of them in the regular season. I feel like there could be a lot of load management. We don't know how this is going to go as well. It could go swimmingly. It could just as easily be car crash. It's going to be a really, really interesting season for Brooklyn fans. Apart from that, their depth is fantastic. They are one of the deepest teams in the league, as we will debate in our next segment, by the way. Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, DeAndre Jordan, etc. These are all very, very solid role players. But if you take out the Durant, Kyrie, involvement, that I think we'll see a lot of them being rested this year, then they'll be a little bit better than what they were last year. That's all I see this at the moment. I could be completely wrong, but I think that the Brooklyn Nets will hover around that 5th seed. By the way, come playoff time, they could come out the East comfortably because they'll all be locked in. But regular season, I think we'll see a lot of load management. So I'm sticking Brooklyn in at number 5. My 4th seed may again surprise a few people. Maybe a few may think this is a little bit high, but you can't rule out ever the Toronto Raptors, and that's why I put them in at number 4. Everybody seems to write them off every year. I remember last season a lot of people saying that they wouldn't even make the playoffs, and what did they do? What did they finish? 2nd in the end? 3rd? I can't remember now, but they are always a solid outfit. I think that they will struggle a little bit with the loss of Gasol and Ibaka, but they have picked up Aaron Baines, which is a great addition, obviously, and fills that void nicely. Kyle Lowry obviously continues to just be excellent every single year. A true leader they've got there with Kyle. And Pascal will have a point to prove after bubble disappointments last season. He may come back with a bit between his teeth. And Fred VanVleet as well. He has been paid now. He's secured the bag, so he'll be keen to produce the goods to show that he is worth every penny. So I'm not writing off the Raps. I've got them in at number 4. In at 3, I'm putting the Boston Celtics. Again, the Celtics are an extremely top-heavy team, incredibly talented team. When you look at the top 100 that ESPN just released, you've got lots of players in there that include from the Celtics. So, Jason Tatum, perennial All-Star, he's going to be an MVP candidate, I think, this season. Kemba Walker is out. I think that He's gonna hurt the Celtics a bit. We don't know how long he's out for, and when he comes back, if he's going to be fully fit, etc. So that's a concern. Jaylen Brown has been brilliant. Marcus Smart, I'm a big fan of. Still haven't really looked at that centre position. That's the glaringly sort of obvious area for improvement. They're going to rely on Daniel Tice again this season, so that's a bit of a struggle. Tristan Thompson, Jeff Teague, solid picks-ups, but I will say that Boston are always a threat. You're never going to have an easy game against the Celtics, so I stick them in at number 3. So as the suspense builds with just 2 teams left to announce, in at number 2 are your Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. Some may say this is a little bit high. I think that if you look at last season, you know, that's the worst we've seen of this team. They're only going to keep getting better. I think, you know, obviously Butler and Bam are going to be exceptional once again. But I'm really excited, for example, to see sophomore year Tyler Herro. Can't believe what he did in his rookie season. I'm really excited to see what Tyler's going to bring. And I think that we may well see a starting berth for Tyler as the season starts, so that's going to be really interesting. Duncan Robinson, I think that he will go out and show that that wasn't a one season wonder, fluke season, if you like. I think that he will be keen to show that he is as deadly as ever. And just the depth going through this team, I know I bang on about the Miami Heat's depth, but you know, all the way through to 10, 11, 12, even 13th man can all come in and do a job. And in a season that's going to be very COVID impacted, I think that that's going to really help the Heat. So I think that we will come in at number 2. So just one team left to pick, and that is obviously going to be the Orlando Magic. No, I'm only joking. Obviously, it's the Milwaukee Bucks in at number 1 again. A little bit of a contradiction here because I'm not actually overwhelmed by what they did this offseason. Obviously, Drew Holiday is fantastic. A lot of teams were after Drew. A lot of teams would have loved Drew. I think half the league was after Drew Holiday, but he ends up in Milwaukee, which is only going to strengthen them, I believe. But after that, I don't think that they're... The roster lacks any real depth. It's extremely top heavy, but they're just a regular season juggernaut, and when you've got Giannis Antetokounmpo in your team, you're probably going to win the conference. It's as simple as that. So Giannis, Drew and Chris Middleton is a pretty fearsome top 3 to have. It will be probably good enough to see them win the conference, but it will be a lot tighter than it was last year. But there we go. That is my 1 through 8. That is 8th place, the Atlanta Hawks. 7th, the Indiana Pacers. 6th, the Sixers. 5th, the Brooklyn Nets. 4th, Toronto Raptors. 3rd, the Boston Celtics. Your Miami Heat in at number 2. And Milwaukee Bucks, I believe, will win the conference once more. Let's see how that compares now to my 4 guests. Right, so now on to the fun bits. I have got 4 of your favourite Heat media guests here, with Alex Toledo from 5 on the Floor, Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat, David Ramil from Locked On Heat and Miami Heat, radio broadcaster Mike Inglis, all giving me their 1 to 8 predictions, and we will see how they compare to what I have just given. So on to the first slide, let's do it. In 8th position, let's see. Wow, there's one here that's caught my heart exactly here with David Ramil. We'll come on to that in a second, but first of all, Mike agrees with me. He's the only one that agrees with me, in fact, with Atlanta Hawks in 8th. Alex and Giancarlo have both gone with the Wizards, and that was obviously the team that I was and ahhing over in 8th. Obviously, you can't ignore a duo of Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. Now, I think that would be a good shout for 8th, or even higher maybe. That was Umdenard, as I said, with my own predictions. Obviously, David Bertan's there as well. Wizards are going to be a good team, I think, next year. So, yeah, no real grumbles there. But David Ramil has gone with the Toronto Raptors in 8th. That seems a bit low to me, and this is what I mean about a lot of teams disrespecting the Raps. But hey, that's David's opinion. He's gone with Toronto down at 8. Let's see who we've got in at 7. Okay, next slide then, in 7th place, and this should be a little bit more straightforward. Yep, there we go. Mike, Giancarlo, Alex all agree with me. They have put the Indiana Pacers in at 7. David again has gone a little bit different. He has gone with Atlanta in at number 7. I suppose that is maybe the right choice if you was going to put Toronto down that low. I suppose the Hawks would be the next one maybe there. So he's gone Raptors 8, Hawks 7. But everybody else agrees with me. They're going with Indiana in at 7. Okay, so now it's the top 6, and I'm going to start with looking at David. He has gone with Indiana at 6, which I suppose makes sense with Toronto being dropped out of the top 6. So everybody else's top 6 has the same amount of teams. Now let's just see the order. Alex agrees with me. Giancarlo agrees with me. Mike goes with Toronto down at 6th. But yeah, as I said, Alex and G, they both have got the Philadelphia 76ers in 6th spot, which shows that, yeah, I think that's maybe about right. So we've still got Mike and David to see where Philadelphia turn up. But yeah, again, the majority going with Philly at 6. Right, so number 5, and this is where maybe I was a little bit controversial, having Brooklyn in at number 5. So let's see if anybody else has them as low as me. Yes, David Ramil agrees. He has gone with Brooklyn at 5 as well. Mike goes for Philly at 5, which is fair enough. And Alex has gone with the Celtics down at number 5. And Giancarlo has gone with Toronto at 5. So we've all got a bit of a difference of opinion there. So just me and David with Brooklyn at 5. We've got one Celtics at 5, we've got one Raptors at 5, and we've got one Sixers at 5. So a split opinion there across the board, really. But yeah, this is what I mean about this Eastern Conference. It's going to be a real mix, anybody's game. So, but there we go. Brooklyn actually had the majority. They're in at 5. Right, next slide, on to the top 4. Let's see who got the majority here. Remember, I went with Toronto in at 4. Looks like we've got a couple here for the Nets. Mike, Inglis and Giancarlo both go with Brooklyn in at number 4. Sixers in for David, and the Miami Heat, the first time we've seen the Miami Heat, that's come from Alex Toledo. He has gone with the Heat at 4. So there we go. So again, quite split, but it looks like the majority are saying here that Brooklyn at 4 is probably most realistic. So we're on to the top 3, and remember, we haven't seen any Bucks, we haven't seen any Celtics, we've only seen the Heat once, so we're all going to have the same 3 apart from one team in Alex's predictions that have gate crashed the top 3. So let's see who that is. Here we go. Right, Toronto have gate crashed the top 3 in Alex Toledo's list, so varying. Just shows you how much of a varying opinion we've got on Toronto, because Alex tops out there at 3, whereas David put them in at 8. So there we go, and the rest had them somewhere in the mid. So a bit of an unknown entity we're thinking with Toronto this season. But let's go through now. Yep, the Celtics for Mike. The Celtics for me as well, remember, so they agree. Giancarlo and David both put in the Heat in at number 3, which I think again is probably fair. So there we go with the Heat now. Yeah, 3 for Giancarlo, 3 for David, 4 for Alex, 3 for sorry, it was 2 for me. So we've only got Mike then. Mike's the only team then that we don't know where he's put the Miami Heat. So let's find out now where that's going to end up. So let's have the top 2 slide now. Let's go straight to Mike. Let's see if he was the only person. No, Mike has them the same as me. He has them at number 2. Alex puts in Brooklyn in at number 2. Wow. And then we've got Giancarlo putting the Celtics and David also putting the Celtics. So we're all quite high on Boston. Yeah, 3 for me, 2 for Giancarlo, 2 for David. I forgot actually it was down in 5. Alex wasn't so keen, but 3 for Mike. So the Celtics are well represented. We think they're going to be strong. And yeah, as I said, Mike agrees with me. He's saying Miami Heat at 2. But the Nets, there we go. Alex is high on the Nets. So at least we know one thing. We all know who our champion's going to be. Let's discuss that. So final slide, and we know it's going to be a formality. It's a full house for the Milwaukee Bucks. There we go. So it just shows you that even though maybe not the most overwhelming season, will Giannis be happy with that? He was sat down and told that they was going to go big. They was going to go into the luxury tax. They brought in All-Star Drew Holiday, so not a bad piece to add by any means. But yeah, we will see how that goes. But we are all unanimous in saying that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to take the East. So if you now add up the totals of the league positions that we have just put them in, this is your combined Eastern Conference according to me, Mike, Alex, G and David. This is how the East is going to stack up. So top unanimous was Milwaukee. They're 5 out of 5 first picks. There we go. In at number 2 is Miami Heat. Is there a bit of homerism there? It maybe is an inclination that could be the case, but I'm saying that they're in at 2. So there we go. In at 3, they're just behind the Heat there by 1 point, was Boston. 4th, we have Brooklyn. I think that's probably about right. Toronto in at number 5, and just behind them by 1 point was Philly in at number 6. Then a bit of a gap there. Number 7 is the Pacers, and if we take the times when Atlanta wasn't included and put them down as 9 points, they still just about edge out the Washington Wizards there in for the 8th seed. So there we go. That is your Eastern Conference seedings according to us 5. So let us know how you think we did. Have we been completely biased there? A Miami Heat platform here, putting our Miami Heat in at 2. Is that right? Have we got it way wrong? Is your team too low? Let us know either way. I hope you enjoyed that segment. That was a lot of fun. Right, so I believe that the Miami Heat have the deepest team in the NBA. However, Brooklyn Nets and LA Lakers fans, they believe that their team has a compelling case to argue otherwise. So, myself, Matt Hardy from Nets UK and Jonathan Kiernan from LaLakersUK have all put forward our quick pitches to say why our teams are the deepest, and it will be judged by none other than the hoop genius himself, Mr. Mooncey. He's going to listen to all 3 arguments and then put forward who he thinks is the deepest team in the NBA. Check it out.
So what does depth mean to me? Depth means having talent all the way down the bench, but it also means having a versatile roster that you can put out in multiple lineups for different situations. The Nets have both. Offensively, we've got the likes of KD, Kyrie, who, now they're healthy, could come back at an all-star, maybe even MVP level. Add to that, Karis LeVert, who dropped 50 on the Celtics this season, and balled out in the bubble, leading the Nets as a primary option in that 5-3 record that we really had no business having. Spencer Dinwiddie missed the bubble because of coronavirus, but don't forget, he was a fringe all-star. He was in those fringe all-star conversations, being that number 1 option when Kyrie and Karis both dealt with their injury problems last year. Joe Harris is one of the league's elite 3-point shooters, who can also finish at the rim brilliantly, who's going to get so many open looks now KD and Karis are back, it's going to be ridiculous. So with shooters like Taurean Prince and Luau Cabarrot also getting the same benefit. Jarrett Allen had a massive improvement to be a walking double-double in the bubble to even give us some real firepower in the front court as well. The Nets also added Landry Shamet, who's top 15 in 3-point percentage in the league, and Jeff Green, who's coming off career high in points last season in Houston. That style of play should fit pretty well with what Nash is trying to run in Brooklyn. Defensively, the Nets finished 9th in the NBA for defensive rating, or points allowed per 100 possessions, but also added defensive-minded guards like Bruce Brown from the Pistons and Landry Shamet, who I've touched on. If he's healthy, KD's no slouch on the defensive end either. So we're a young team, we're a versatile team, we've got tons of shooting, and that's why I think the Nets have got the best depth in the NBA.
What's good, everyone? My name is Jonathan Kiernan. I'm the Senior Managing Editor of Lakers UK. Big shout out to Miami UK for asking me to come on here. And I'm going to run through the best roster in all of basketball. It's got to be our 2020 NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's just go through the starting 5. Center, Marc Gasol. Stretch 5, former Defensive Player of the Year. Huge basketball IQ. Definitely an upgrade over JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. Power forward, they should have been Defensive Player of the Year, Anthony Davis. Giannis, sorry man, AD deserved it. Beast, superstar for the next decade, and it's going to be the Lakers' big guy going forward. Small forward, LeBron James, 4-time MVP, runner-up last year. Giannis did deserve that one. Giannis, future Laker. Shooting guard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Beast during the playoffs. Had a huge playoffs for us and was our third star. Can defend multiple positions. Can do anything that's needed of him. Alex Crusoe, basically the exact same as KCP. Can defend. Is a locker room guy. Is fantastic. Can score. Can dunk. Can get the crowd going. Perfect. Now let's look at our second unit. That's where we're really going to shine this season, and that's where we really have the depth. Montrezl Harrell, 6th man of the year, beast, offers us a different look than what we had last season. He's very mobile, very athletic, and is a tenacious player. Power forward, Markieff Morris, tough, can stretch the floor, is a beast, leader, champion. Small forward, Kyle Kuzma. I'll admit, Kuz didn't have the best season last year, but Kuz is in the contract year, so contract Kuz is going to ball out this year. Shooting guard, Wes Matthews. Not the best player, but he can defend, he can guard multiple positions, he can score, he can stretch the floor. I don't think he's going to be a starter for the Lakers, but he's a great depth piece for this team. And then point guard, you have Dennis Schroeder, runner up for 6th man of the year. Really in with a chance to be a starter. I think he's better off the bench, but could be a big guy for the Lakers this coming season. So that's it. Our 10-man rotation is deep. Again, big shout out to Miami UK. Thank you so much for having me on, and best of luck with everything. Thank you.
So the Miami Heat may lack some of the absolute superstar power that some of the other teams in the league have, but I don't believe that anybody goes quite as deep as the Heat. And that was reflected, I believe, in last season's triumphant run as Eastern Conference Final champions all the way through to last season's finals. Jimmy Butler, a man who went absolutely hand in hand with our culture, slips into this team with absolute ease. He is the main reason why we had the run that we did last year, completely under his marshalled stewardship all the way through to the finals. Bam Adebayo now has been paid, and man does he deserve every single penny. The Miami Heat, according to ESPN, are the only team apart from the Lakers that have 2 players now in their top 13. Bam Adebayo, his first year as a starter. What a superstar in the reckoning this guy is going to be. Goran Dragic, he is back, signed a 2-year deal, second year being a team option of course, but he was immense for us in the playoffs especially, and if it wasn't for his injury in the finals, who knows, we could have been looking at your new champions being the Miami Heat. But Goran is a huge weapon for our offensive arsenal going forward this season. Tyler Hero, who would have thought that anybody would have had the rookie season that he did? He is looking already way beyond his years. I think he'll be a starter for the Heat this year, so we are massively looking forward to sophomore year 2 Tyler Hero this year. Duncan Robinson, another player that came out of nowhere. He is going to be doing everything he can to prove that last year wasn't a one-season wonder. There is no fluke involved in what Duncan can do offensively. He is a flamethrower in this league. All the way down now to we're looking at people in like the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th man. We've got people like Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless. They've come in from the LA teams. They will slip straight into this Heat team, no problem at all. They are Eric Spoelstra, moulded players. He is delighted to have Avery Bradley and Harkless in. Kendrick Nunn. You know, what a season he had last year. He started incredibly for us before starting to tail off towards the end of the season when he had his own health implications by contracting coronavirus. But he was Rookie of the Month, I think, 4 times last season when he was on fire. I don't think anybody else has ever done that in history. So Kendrick Nunn is going to be back again and giving us some solid minutes and some solid points next season. Myers Leonard is back. He's going to give plenty of protection to Bam. He is a big that we need 100%. Andre Iguodala, I think we're down to like the 10th man now. Andre Iguodala at 10th man, I'll take that. Savvy vet, we need every bit of his experience again next year. Kelly Olynyk, you know, another big stretch 4, he can shoot. Just, you know, this is down at number 11. Before we even talk about our new draftee, Precious Achiuwa, he is Bam season 2. Mark my words, big things expected from Precious. Nobody expected him to fall down to number 20 at Miami's pick. And then right at the tail end, even people like Chris Silva, Casey Opala, and of course Udonis Haslem. The Miami Heat are the deepest team in the NBA. Prove me wrong.
Wagwan people, it's your boy Mo, aka The Hoop Genius, coming at you live and direct right about now. Now, all three guys have put together very compelling cases for the depth in their squads. They've got valid reasons for all of them, but it's now time for the decision. This summer, I'm going to be taking my talents to... No, not that kind of decision. We're talking about squad depth. So I'm going to give this one, as much as it pains my green heart to say this, I'm giving it to the Lakers. And I'm going to base it on this. The Lakers bench has a bunch of guys that could walk into the starting lineups of a lot of other teams in the NBA. Now, that's not to say the Nets and the Heat don't have great depth. They've got good role players, very solid role players. But all three of these teams, we haven't seen these new look teams in action this year. We don't know how they're going to mesh. We're not going to see how well the role players fit their roles until the season gets rolling. So we're going to go on just pure talent. And if I'm talking pure talent, then the Lakers have the best bench, and that's why I think they're going to go back to back, and that's why it's killing me to say this. But, you know, I look at their bench, and it's a very, very solid unit. I like what the Heat have done in terms of the culture of their players that they've got coming off the bench and what they can do. And I like what the Nets have done, but I think the success of their role players is contingent upon playing in lineups with KD and Kyrie and them being open. You know, guys like Joe Harris, they're going to benefit so much from that, whereas, you know, guys like Schroeder and Trez, they don't really need LeBron and AD on the court to do their thing. They can let their starters get rest, and that is true depth for me. So I'm going with the Lakers.
Huge shout out to Mooncey there from Sky Sports, who awards the Lakers the team with the most depth in the NBA. Is he right or wrong? Let us know in the comments. In the final segment of today's Heat Hub, we're going to have a look at the Miami Heat vice versa jerseys and get some reaction from that. And then I have put together what I believe are the 16 best concepts in this year's edition. And I have asked Mark Murray from the Throwback Store, the UK's #1 jersey selling account, to whittle down the 16 best to the #1 jersey from this year's collection. Check it out. Okay, welcome to segment 5 of the Heat Hub, and this is a City Edition World Cup we are doing here, and I am delighted to be joined by the #1 jersey seller in the UK from the Throwback Store. It's Mark Murray. Mark, how you doing, buddy?
Good, really good, man. How are you?
I'm very well. No problem. I appreciate you jumping on for me. Yet no one knows their jerseys like you. So before we get into this little World Cup I've sort of put together here, first of all, your initial thoughts on the vice versa, the final edition of the Miami Vice jerseys. What do you think of this latest one?
I like it. Yeah. At first, because there was a few knocking about, and we didn't know which one was going to be the final one that actually got released. And I was hoping it was the one that got released. It's kind of like they've got all those ones behind you, all the ones that they've used before, the blue, the pink, the black, the white, and they've just kind of gone, we'll just throw them all together and see what it looks like. But it looks fantastic. So yeah, it's one of my favourite ones from this season.
Yeah, I was when I first saw the leaked images, I didn't like it. As soon as I saw the initial when the Heat finally released their images, of course, it obviously looks a million times better, and then it grew on me very quickly. I do agree. I think that it's probably the worst of the 5 that we've seen. I think all the ones behind me here have sort of pop a bit better, but I do like it. It has grown on me. I am pleased though that they are drawing a line under it this season, because it is starting to get to what can we do next stage. So there we go. So yeah, vice versa is looking good. So what we've done here, I have done a top 16 of what I believe are the best City editions for the 2021 season, and I've seeded them and I've drawn them against each other, and I'm giving you the option of who's going through to the next round. So this is the 16 best, and we are going to end up in 10 minutes or so time having a winner. Unfortunately, mate, you're a big Sixers fan. They didn't make the cut, and that might not be.
I wonder why. I wonder why that was. Maybe the boat houses might have been something to do with it.
I don't actually hate it. I think it's fine. I just think they could have done so much better with it. So, yeah, the Sixers didn't make it. So these are my seedings. This is 1 to 16. This is who's made the cut. So we've got Hornets, Spurs, Heat, Mavericks, Lakers, Suns, Nuggets, Nets, Warriors, Pacers, Grizzlies, Magic, Jazz, Trailblazers, Bucks, and Bulls. So the very first is the 1 versus 16 seed, and that, in my opinion, is the Charlotte Hornets against the Chicago Bulls. Who's going through in that one, mate?
Do you know what? I seen the Bulls one, and I didn't know if I liked it. But then when you see the press release, you start to like it. So, you put too much precious seed in these,
mate. It's your decision.
I'm gonna go with Charlotte. I'm gonna go with Buzz City. I do like that, and it's got a touch of old school on it with the pinstripes. So
yeah, this is it. I love the. I just love the colourings of the Charlotte one and the pinstripes as well. If you can add a good colour and pinstripes, to me, that you're on a winner. So right, okay, Bulls are out. Charlotte are through, rightly so, in my opinion. Okay, the Spurs versus the Bucks. What do we think?
I didn't like the Bucks at all. The Spurs is one of my favourites, so that's easy. But before I do say this, I apologise to Ginger Shack for kicking Chicago out in the first round. Sorry about that. Yeah, but yeah, this one's easy. It's easy for me. San Antonio, the Fiesta vibes. I love all that.
Yeah, I think that one's quite straightforward. I don't dislike the Bucks. I think it's different for sure. But yeah, the Spurs one is elite. So yeah, that one's quite straightforward. So here we go. This one's hopefully not going to take the steam out of me. So it's the Miami Heat versus the Trailblazers.
That's easy. They've got to be the Heat. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I did mention that I like the Heat on my podcast. So yeah, that's
cool.
An easy one for me.
Good stuff. Okay, right. So it's all going to form so far. Start getting a little bit trickier. The Mavericks against Utah Jazz. That's quite tricky.
The Jazz for me. I didn't like the Mavericks jersey. It seemed too much Real Madrid Luka centric for my liking. And the Jazz it's basically like the jersey from the other season, just dipped in tar. So yeah, I like that. I've got a lot of time for that jersey.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think I like the Mavs, how clean it is. But yeah, the colours on the Utah one, I think they're pretty special. So that's fair enough. Got no problem with that. Okay, 2 very clean jerseys here. Lakers against the Magic.
There's not much really. I'm going to go the Lakers just because I think they should have put Orlando on the Orlando one instead of just kind of missing the rest of the name. I think that's a little bit silly, so I'll go with the Lakers. Yeah,
I like the. I think the Magic one got quite a bit of slander, but I quite like it. I think obviously orange with the orange being the Orange County, etc. Pinstripes, as I've already said, is nice. But yeah, those Lakers ones are clean, and as I've already said, if you've got a clean jersey, then it's popping for me. I like that. Okay, so they now start getting tricky. Suns versus Grizzlies.
Oh, this is a hard one because I said that the Suns was one of my favourite ones, but the Grizzlies, I'm looking at them now. It's the first time I've proper had to look at this list. I'm gonna go with Ja Morant. I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies. I'm sorry, Suns UK. Don't hurt me. Hit me.
No, it's they're both very nice. So I wouldn't have grumbled with either one of them going through. So again, another quite tricky one. Denver Nuggets and the Pacers.
Nuggets, easy for me. That I love that Nuggets jersey. Yeah, I absolutely love that jersey. I just love the maroon colour.
Yeah, a real deep red.
Very autumnal colouring. Great for this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a really good shout. It is a good one for this time of year. Yeah, good shout. Yeah. Okay, final one of the round of 16. Brooklyn Nets against the Warriors.
God, both dead, aren't they? What? I just don't like the Brooklyn Nets one, and I hate Elliot from Hooping and Looting. So I'm I'm going to have to go with the Warriors just by default because I just dislike Elliott, really.
Oh, poor Elliott. When I first saw the Nets one, I wasn't too keen. Now I've seen it. Elliott has already hung his one up. So I thought, no, actually, that is nice. I do like it. And of course, I do love the Warriors one. The only thing with the Warriors one is it's just too similar to what they've already done before. That's why they dropped points on that. But yeah, I'm not grumbling with either of those going through. So there you go. There's your quarter finalists. So we will go to form. And then we'll come straight back with the Warriors, but now they've got Hornets. So it's the 1v8 seed, we're going to call this now. Hornets v Warriors.
Going to go with the Hornets on that one.
Yep, cool. No problem. Yep, that's fair enough. Right, Spurs versus Nuggets.
Oh, these are my two favourites. Literally two of my favourites.
They're both so nice, aren't they? Oh, that's a tough one.
Oh, no. What have you done? I'm going to go with the Spurs. I'm going to go with the Spurs. Just because it's more of a retro-y feel and obviously being the throwback store, I've got to kind of stick to my guns.
That's a fair point. Fair point. Okay, Heat now against Grizzlies. What we saying?
I'm going to go Grizzlies. I'm sorry. I'm going to go Grizzlies. I just like that Memphis this year have done a spin on the Vancouver, where they did the actual Vancouver last year. They've done their own spin this year, which I really do like. I'm sorry.
That's all right, mate. Don't worry. I
won't be invited back on now.
No, that's it. You've burnt your tyres, but there we go. So,
John, well, it's all right. Sixers, Bobby.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, palm me off me, brother. Right, last one of the quarterfinals. It is the Utah Jazz versus the LA Lakers.
It's the Jazz. The Lakers is clean, but the Jazz are just like I like more of a colourful jersey.
Yep. No, that's fair enough. So our last four then, we have got the Hornets versus the Nuggets, and we have got the where are we? We are on the Jazz versus the Grizzlies. Okay, so the semi-finals, first semi-finals then. So Hornets v Nuggets. We're getting into we're elite territory now. This.
Oh,
they're both so nice. They're both so popping. The colours are so vivid on both of them. I love these two jerseys.
Wait. No. I didn't pick the Nuggets.
You didn't pick the Nuggets?
I picked the Spurs.
Oh, you picked the Spurs. I do apologise. Yep. So it's the.
I just thought. Then I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry.
I thought I got rid of the Nuggets.
No, you're right. You're right. It's the Spurs. Yes. So Spurs versus Hornets. Yeah.
It's the Spurs for me and that one. Yeah. That's why I was thinking. Then I was thinking. I feel like the Spurs are around here somewhere.
Okay, so the Spurs are in the finals. I'm not arguing with that. That's fine. Joining them, Utah or Grizzlies?
Grizzlies.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Gotta be. Spurs and Grizzlies.
Spurs, Grizzlies. Our winner then, the 2020-21 season City Edition, best City Edition goes to the Spurs or the Grizzlies. Mark Murray from Throwback Store, who is our winner?
The San Antonio Spurs. It's got to be. It's the Fiesta vibes. It's old school. It reminds me of when Rodman went there for a spell. It reminds me of all the good times of old. Yeah, it's got to be the Spurs for me. I love that jersey.
It is a popping jersey. I love the colours. I love the font. Yeah, it's bang on. No problem at all. Runners up with the Grizzlies, but the San Antonio Spurs, you have the best jersey in this year's edition. Thank you very much, Mark. Brilliant. Great to have you on. Where can everybody find you in your fantastic store, mate?
Find me all over the place. Instagram at the Throwback Store, Twitter at TTBSUK, website www.thethrowbackstore.co.uk, and anywhere else that you'll find me on the street probably as well.
Yeah, no, it is the number one jersey selling store in the UK, built from nothing really and in a space of not a lot of time. How long have you been doing this now, mate?
Just over, it'd be 4 years.
4 years.
March, so about 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Incredible job, mate. Keep doing your thing and keep supplying the people with some fantastic value. And people out there, support small businesses. Christmas is coming. You can still bag a couple of bargains. So go and see Mark at the Throwback Store. He will sort you out. Till next time, guys. We'll see you soon.